Welcome to the Super Simple Homeschool Podcast, where we help you find purpose in your homeschool while keeping it super simple. Today, I am joined by guest Sarah Janisse Brown. Sarah is the founder of Thinking Tree Books and the creative mind behind Fun Schooling Journals. She is an author and the host of the Fun School Show podcast. Sarah is also a homeschool mom to 15 children. Hi, Sarah. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Well, I am so excited because I read a post of yours on Facebook back in February before I even had a podcast about how you homeschool your children with a focus on career goals. And I love this approach so much. So I'm so excited to be talking with you about this today. So let's start with what is career-based homeschooling?
So from the time my kids are little, they begin to learn that when you grow up, you're going to need to make money. And if you can make money doing something you really enjoy and you're really good at, then people will actually pay you. So, so I begin when they're really little to teach them that you can create something of value that people will give you money for. And when a 5 or 6-year-old learns this for the first time, it opens up this whole world of imagination of what it means to be an entrepreneur. And so then from that point on, we begin to introduce them to all different types of career paths and work they can do from home if they want to be an at-home mom, that they can make work, do work on the side at home. And we also teach them a lot about creating a passive income so that they can do maybe mission work or raise their kids while having an income that rolls in while they sleep.
Wow, that's awesome. I love that so much. I think it's so valuable to teach kids that at an early age. So can you give me a couple examples of what your kids have done?
So I have a daughter who is one of the top photographers now in the USA. She
Wow.
Crazy. She has no trouble making $8,000 a day with
Wow.
photography, and she's 22 years old. People fly her around the world. She's just got back from France and Italy, where she shot 2 weddings. And so when she was 13 years old, she said she wanted to be a photographer. And we invested in high quality equipment and some master classes and some mentoring for her in photography. And photography became her major during the high school years. So she was not focused on a college track. She wasn't doing high school credits um, for college entry. She was completely immersed in building her photography business. By the time she was 17, she was well on her way to being self-sufficient. By 18, she had a strong enough income to go move to Oahu, Hawaii, and launch her business on her own. So another daughter is a playwright, and when she was 16 years old, she wrote a musical. It was her kind of senior project, and then she actually leased that musical to a Broadway producer who did a multi-million-dollar production in Dallas last summer.
Wow.
Another one of my kids had a passion for dogs and horses her entire childhood. So we focused on that passion. And now she has basically a dog hotel where people pay her like $50 a night to babysit their dogs. She does horse riding lessons. She has adopted 5 horses that were rescues and trained them to be used with children. And she also raises show quality golden retrievers. And then my son is one of those kids that changed his career goal every single year. He wanted to be something different. And we call him the explorer personality. And seriously, every couple months he wanted to be something else. And that's the kind of kid, like, what do you do when they keep changing their mind? He eventually settled on being a music producer and learned to play like 30 or 40 different instruments. He needed to be the kind of person who does a diverse number of different things. So
Very
that's just a
cool.
few examples.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so you talked about you talked about your daughter having that major in photography when she was in high
Hmm.
school. So most of us think about majors as something we do in college. And I've read up
Right.
on what you guys do, but tell us a little bit about how you do that and what you consider the major in high school and how your kids choose that path.
All right. So, a lot of people say, well, what if my kid's not interested in something? Or what if they don't know what they want to be? And you see, I start when they're little and I begin talking to them about all the options of what they can do to make money. And I don't only focus on a career, it's career, calling, or college. And
Sure.
so we're not just about entrepreneurship. We open up the windows to all kinds of possibilities to what they can do as a teen and when they grow up, teaching them that you can have an impact on the world and do great things. You can raise a family. Your priority can be missions, volunteer work, water in Africa. It can be building a business, you can work with animals. And then we tell them from the time they're little that when you're 13 or 14 years old, if you're ready to start a business, we're going to invest in your business and get you the equipment and the training that you need. And so from the time they're little, they are looking forward to this. Like it used to be that kids would look forward to turning 16 and getting their driver's license.
Sure.
A lot of kids don't care anymore. Now they're just like, whatever age their parents say they can get their first smartphone. That's all that matters to most kids anymore. So instead of being 16 driving a car, they want to be 14 and get a phone. And then it's all downhill from there.
Right.
But my kids look forward to that time where we're going to invest in their first business. A lot of times it's for their 13th or 14th birthday, depending on their maturity. And they know to begin to think towards that
Hmm.
and to plan towards that because we usually invest $1,000 to $3,000. People
Okay.
say, oh my gosh, investing that much in a 13-year-old. Yes, because then we don't have to invest $100,000 later in them getting a degree for who knows what. And then we spend the next 4 years or 5 years immersing in the career goals that they have. And they have high quality equipment. They have an internship. They become an apprentice. They get one on one lessons with somebody who's rocking it in that business.
Hmm.
And we don't have to do college. They end up getting high quality learning and experience in their field as teenagers. And usually, what I'll do is I'll find someone who's doing their dream, doing it well, and being successful at it, and I ask that person, hey, can I pay you $100 an hour to mentor my child in this field once a week? And this is another way we're having them major in the thing that they want to do. And parents are like, oh, spend $100 a week on my 14-year-old. Oh, yes. Because we don't even blink at the idea that we're going to have to spend thousands of dollars on college for a degree that they might not even use. And
Sure.
so I have been able to launch 6 kids into adulthood without having to pay for college. And if they need a college degree, they hire somebody who's got one. And
Wow.
that's how it's gone so far.
Yeah. Okay. Have you ever run into trouble getting someone to agree to mentor your 14 or 15-year-old in that career?
No, not at all. With my, I mean, I believe that God has a plan for every kid,
Hmm.
and that God will open doors for that child to become who they were created to be. And so, as I'm looking at the child's character and their calling and their passions and their gifts, I really believe that as I just encourage that child to follow that path and follow the calling, that the doors are going to open for them. And each child just has such a unique calling that as that calling begins to develop, I begin to just look for the opportunity to find that mentor or find that master class. And it's worked out every time.
Wow, that's such a cool testimony to letting God kind of choose the path and call them to it and allowing that to happen naturally. I love it.
Yeah, I know a lot of
Go
on
ahead.
that right there, real
Yeah.
quick. I know a lot of people who want God's will for their kids and want them to follow the calling or the career that they were created for, but they're not willing to let go of standardizing their kid. And so
Yeah.
they're like, yeah, I want my kid to follow God, but I want them to follow the world too.
Mm.
And so they end up bogging their child down with so much of this stuff that they're never going to use in their life that they end up not having the skill set or the time to develop the skill set to be able to do what they're called to do.
Yeah, I mean, what a gift to give your high schooler the opportunity to develop those skills before they launch into adulthood while they're still in your home and have the
Right.
safety net, of the family.
So
Uh,
true.
yeah, I love
Yeah,
that.
they're
So
safe to fail.
yeah, exactly. And to go, actually, no, this isn't really what I want to do, but I wouldn't have
Yep,
known that without trying it, right? I mean, we do
exactly. And
that
I
as
had that
adults.
kid.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We do that as adults and there's much bigger consequences, right? It's like
Right.
we invested a bunch of money and it didn't work out and it's
Mhm.
a bigger deal, right? When you are raising a family, but
Oh
it's,
yeah.
when they can do that with that safety net, that's such a gift. And I love what you said about not standardizing our
Mhm.
kids. And actually my next two questions were kind of about that, like why this path and not college or trade school. You kind of touched on that, but is there anything more you want to say about that?
Well, it's so efficient. Like
Hmm.
kids, I mean, all of my kids, uh, I mean, I have 5 adopted kids who came to us later in life who weren't ready, didn't have that level of maturity at that age. But all of our biological kids, it's so efficient because I think the middle school years and the high school years can be wasted if they're not focused. And so by
Hmm.
having that focus and having that major, these kids have very meaningful learning and work because their learning is very much focused on things that are meaningful to them, and they're very future focused as
Sure.
homeschoolers who are thinking about what they want to become, because generally people will have a generic education until they're like finished with their associate's degree,
Mm.
and you're missing out on so much opportunity to specialize. And I want my kids to be able to specialize at a young age because that's when their minds are growing the fastest. And so I choose this because it's so much easier financially. I mean, we're investing so much less financially in each kid,
Hmm.
and it's such a better use of their time, energy, resources, and childhood to have them focused. I read a book that said it takes about 10,000 hours to become world class at the thing that you're passionate about. And passion isn't going to get you there. People are not going to just sit around and pay you to do your passion. You actually have to have something that you are providing to a customer that they want to pay you money for. And so if you want to have money for your passion, you have to develop that passion to such a degree that you're able to use it as a way to contribute to make someone else's life better. And so it takes a lot of time to become that good at a passion. Another thing is sometimes a kid is not going to be able to develop a career around their passion, but they need to develop a career to fund their passion or to
Mm.
fund their calling. And
Sure.
so my daughter who wanted to do horses couldn't make money off of horses in the first 4 years of doing horses. She had to pay for horses. And so she needed an income source to pay for her horses. And so she began making ecological dog accessories to pay
Mm.
for the horses. She wasn't passionate about making ecological dog accessories,
Sure.
but she was passionate about horses. So we also have to take that time to help develop the child's mindset that people aren't just going to pay you to be a ballerina.
Right.
But if you're really, really good, they will pay you to be a dance teacher,
Sure.
and
Yeah.
people aren't going to pay you to own a horse, but if you're really, really good, they will pay you to do horse therapy with their children or teach their kids to ride horses or to lead a trail ride and things like that. So you
Yeah.
have to get to the point where you're getting in many, many hundreds of hours, become very skilled. And while you're a teenager, it's an incredible time to do that because what else do you have to do?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's so important. I as a counselor, that's what I do for my day job. But I work with a lot of people who are adults who still haven't learned that yet.
Mhm.
That you're not necessarily going to get paid for your passions, but it's okay to work a job that does pay for them, right? Like,
Right. Yeah,
and
because
so
that can motivate you.
right, exactly. So I love that they're learning that at an early age. I know I'm going to get this question or objection, if you will, from people who are listening. So what about all of the traditional school subjects? So when you're starting to specialize, what do you do with things like math and science and history? Like, do they abandon those subjects, or how do they incorporate those things?
So there are parents out there who want nothing to do with creative education, who want to feel like they checked off all the boxes and their kids are ready for college so that they can get through their 12 years and then go on to become a doctor or a lawyer or an accountant or an actuary or something where they need to be able to get into college and get scholarships and be successful in that way. There is nothing wrong with that. We need doctors and lawyers and everybody else. In my house, we're raising entrepreneurs, we're raising people according to their calling, their passion, their giftings. And you just have to think about what kind of family you are and what kind of mom you are and what kind of vision your kids have. If I had a kid that wanted to be a doctor, I would put them on a college track. And I would say, hey, you want to do this. So you're going to have to do all this in high school and get all these credits. And I would equip them to do that. And they
Hmm.
would be motivated to do it because that's their dream. But if they did want to be a doctor, I would still have them learning a big focus on anatomy and on health and on preventative health care and on nutrition, and even have them volunteer with with a midwife or something.
Sure.
I would not give them a standardized education just to get them ready for college.
Sure.
So, parents who are going to disagree with this are probably parents who need to be raising their kids for college, and that's perfectly fine. I do have people who have said that I all I ever do is set my kids up for success, and if you just always put your kids in a situation where they're building their lives around being successful, they're not going to know how to handle failure and they're not going to be well disciplined. But now that I have kids that are in, my oldest is 26, and I'm seeing my kids thriving in their 20s, being successful in their 20s, and having an awesome relationship with their siblings and with the family, I'm not worried about that. My kids are the hardest workers I've ever seen. They have an incredible work ethic because their success depends on them doing an awesome job.
Mm.
It doesn't depend on just getting a paycheck because you have a degree and you show up at work. Because they own their own businesses and they work for their own customers, they are going to do a good job or they're going to hurt their own business. So for the parents who are uncomfortable with building a child's education around a career, this might not be for you. But what I do is when I really see that passion and that child begins to go down that path and they're embracing a career, then the math, the history, the science, the economics, the business development, it all revolves around that career, just as if they were in a higher level of college preparing for that career. And so, in early middle school and in elementary school, I also have my kids major in things that they're passionate about, usually hobbies, so that they can dig deeper and deeper and deeper into a specific topic and become
Mm.
experts. I want my kids to learn how to become experts. And so I don't give them a really wide general education. I give them a really deep, specific education. And
Mm.
once they go deeper and deeper and deeper, they can apply that level of learning to any subject, any topic. And, but when it comes to like high school math, I don't worry about that. I'm much more focused on the math that is involved in entrepreneurship, business, budgeting, economics, statistics, and the management of business, social media, and just marketing. a lot of the math that's required in school is irrelevant to an entrepreneur. And
Sure.
I want my kids to be awesome at the skills that they need to do the job that they want to do. So I feel like by focusing those subjects on what's relevant to the work they want to do, I'm equipping them with a skill set that will empower them to be successful. And my kids can learn anything they want to learn. So if they feel like there's something they're not good at, they can go get it. They can get it done. I'm not worried about learning gaps.
Awesome. Wow. It's just such a different way to approach homeschooling for so many people. And I think it's freeing in a way, right? To just allow your children to dig in to what they're
Yeah.
interested in, and to teach them how to, like you said, how to go deep, and become an expert even at an early age. I think about my kids and my son, who is obsessed with dinosaurs and has been since he was 3 years old, and
Yes.
he's turning 12. And I look at, like, you know, elementary paleontology courses or dinosaur books, and
Mhm.
I'm like, these are not going to serve him anymore because he already knows all of
Exactly.
it. you know
Yes.
and so, but giving him the freedom to dig in, it teaches those lessons of, hey,
Mhm.
we can learn anything we want to, and we get to
Yeah.
focus on what we're interested in.
So I'll give you an example. Your child who is into dinosaurs since age 3. I have a daughter who was into tropical birds and exotic animals
Mm.
since age 3. She even published a book when she was 12. It's Tropical Birds Research Journal here.
Oh,
And
nice.
and she created this when she was 12 years old because she wanted a book that she could use herself to study all these
Mm-hmm.
birds.
Nice.
It's pretty incredible. So when she was little, she wanted nothing to do with anything unless it was about birds. And so I got her all the elementary level bird stuff I could find. And by the time she was 8 or 9, she was already beyond all that. And so then she began to want higher and higher and higher level books. And she was motivated to become better at reading and writing and learning because she didn't want the baby books anymore. For her, it must have been her 9th or 10th birthday. No, Christmas. She makes an Amazon wish list. And I go on her wish list, and it's college level textbooks for exotic animal veterinarian. And
Wow.
these books are like this thick, and they're like $85 each. And I'm like, you know what? She is at that level. She is ready to learn at that level. And so for Christmas, I got her those books and also helped her start a parrot rescue little operation where she
Wow.
ended up rescuing like 5 parrots. And she was one that was ready for the big investment at a younger age. And we did because she was just ready.
Yeah.
I don't know what kind of money you're going to make off of parrot rescue, but that was her calling, that was her passion, that was her dream. But people were worried that all she was ever going to learn about was birds. But what she learned was, as a 10 and 11-year-old, she learned how to learn on a college level, and she developed that vocabulary. And now, what she learned by just going deeper and deeper and deeper into birds, like your son is going deeper and deeper into dinosaurs, was how to learn on such a deeper level than if she was learning everything shallow on grade level. And so
Sure.
it's been exciting to see. And now she's a vlogger and a YouTuber, and her birds are always involved in her videos. But she gets millions of views on her little videos with her birds, and we probably have 60 birds now. So
Wow.
we have a rooster rescue operation, all different varieties of roosters,
Oh
of
my.
people who bought chicks when they were babies hoping
Mm-hmm.
for hens and then had to get rid of them because of their county and city zoning. And so we have that rooster operation here on the
Oh,
farm.
that's funny.
And she has several small tropical birds. We've got turkeys, geese, ducks, but it's her passion. And it's been so much fun watching that grow. She's 16 now.
Oh, that's so fun. Oh my goodness, I can't imagine having all those roosters. Got quite the wake up call in the morning.
Yeah, thankfully we have 23 acres and all the different roosters patrol different areas. It's a
Oh,
lot of
good.
fun. And the whole
Wow,
place is fenced in.
nice. Oh man, how fun is that? So, like practically speaking, I'm thinking about families that maybe have limited means or resources, and I hear what you're saying about investing in them when they're younger, and it's so much more efficient than sending them to college and paying for college. And yet, right, there are going to be families that have limited ability to, invest, or maybe they didn't prepare for that.
Hmm.
By the time, they have kids that are there and at that age and ready, but they aren't prepared and they want to start doing this. How can families start this, or what are some steps they can take even if they don't have a lot of money to invest in their child's
Yeah.
business idea right now?
Yeah. So we had that problem with our first three kids because we were on a very, very tight business. On a really tight budget. We were
Hmm.
missionaries. We were supporting ourselves with, at the very beginning of selling dyslexia games.
Mm.
And we had even had to evacuate the war in Ukraine in 2014, and we're living on nine kids living on like $80 a day in Croatia in a house that had no running water, one electrical outlet, and we had to get the water out of a cistern because we didn't have the money to get tickets back to the USA at that
Oh my
point.
goodness.
And but at that time, we were launching three brand new teenagers because our kids are all a year apart. And so, with my first son, he wanted to be a chef. And so, what we did for his 13th birthday was we made an Amazon wish list for all the friends and family, and everything was related to his desire to be a personal chef. So, everybody else bought gifts related to his passion off of his wish list, which added up to like $1,400. And we had saved up to get him a set of really nice knives.
Mm.
And that had launched his business. He ended up within a year, he was a personal chef for a woman with celiac disease.
Oh wow.
And then when he was 16, he got a job as a personal chef at a resort in Croatia, cooking Mediterranean dishes over a fire. And
Wow.
he didn't continue with being a chef. He switched to being a music producer, and he's the one who plays zillions of instruments. But then my other daughter, who wanted to be a photographer, things were really tight on finances, and we were living as missionary refugees in Croatia during the war in Ukraine. Our house was in Ukraine. Everybody had to get out of the country with just a backpack full of books mostly. And
Wow.
we were living on an island in Croatia where the rent was $400 a month. And she was turning 13, and we didn't have the funds to get all the equipment at that point. So what we actually did was we went to Salzburg, Austria, all our kids dressed in like traditional German outfits, and they sang the songs to Sound of Music on the street corners with an open guitar case, and they raised about 2,000 euros, which is about $2,500 for my daughter's 13th birthday,
Wow.
to buy all her photography equipment. So, my daughter Anna, at age 13, she wanted to be a baker. And we were living, at that point, we were living on an island. We were living on the island, had evacuated the war. And someone who wants to be a baker is a lot more affordable than someone who wants to be a photographer. And
Sure.
so she needed a stand mixer. She needed an electrical outlet in the kitchen. She needed running water. She needed a working oven. And so she launched a muffin business selling muffins for 2 for €5 to all the sailors and all the vacationers who were visiting that island because there was no grocery store on that island. And she began making money doing her bakery business. We ended up investing quite a bit more when she decided she wanted to write a musical and be a
Mm,
playwright. But
sure.
at that point, our income from our thinking tree business was growing, and we were living in Ukraine, where our house was only like $700 a month. But because we were living in a community where our expenses were lower than our income, that freed up a lot of funds. Also, I'm a mom with two pairs of shoes who didn't need a smartphone until I was 40, and I have a really old computer, and I never buy expensive jewelry. I don't watch TV. And so our family doesn't waste any money. But with these first three kids, things were so limited, we had to get creative. With our daughter Naomi, she wanted a horse, and that was her dream. And so that was going to cost about $5,000 to launch her horse thing. And we told her she can't have a horse until she can afford to feed one and the vet bills
Mm.
and the boarding. And so she started her dog business. So my daughter tells me that I opened a shop on Instagram and I have 40 orders. Now I need the supplies to get the materials. And it was her 14th birthday. And we had told her, when you're ready to launch your business, we're going to invest. And so she is a go-getter. She went right for it. She was shipping out about a laundry basket full of orders every week, $40 an order, profit. I mean, she was just making a big profit. She paid for half of her horse. She paid to board it. She paid for its food, its medical care, everything. And she's 19 now, and she's just doing incredible. And so uh, it's not like you have to have thousands of dollars to invest, but you will have to be creative to come up with the resources, just like you're creative to come up with the resources for college.
Sure. Yeah. So one more question and then we'll kind of wrap up for the day, but I was wondering if someone's listening to this, they're like, wow, I have never even considered this, but this is right up my alley and I want to get started. What are some small things that they can do to like just kind of jump into this idea of focusing on career goals and helping their kids achieve all that they can, by the time they
Yeah.
launch into adulthood?
So when my kids want to jump into a career, I make a fun schooling book with them. And
Mm.
then they have a fun schooling book that's based on the career that they want to do. They help create the book. They use the book. They sell the book as a way to help fund it. So
Oh,
we
cool.
have developed so many books about different careers to help families get started. This is how to make money. It's actually a
Mm-hmm.
career journal where kids can study, I think, like 90 different careers to get narrow down what they want to do.
Oh,
All
cool.
about money. This is what we use to help our kids study business and economics. My son created this book. For my daughter, who is excited about dogs, we made the Dogs Fun Schooling Journal. The one
Nice.
who is excited about horses, the Horses Fun Schooling Journal.
Love it.
Animals. I have one who wanted to be a fashion designer and loved history, so it's time travel history. The one who wanted to be a baker made this. And
Nice.
then she wanted to make more money, so she made an athlete's fun schooling journal too. And
Nice.
so if you want to jump into fun schooling and have a career based on your child's passion, start studying that major, look at what we have to offer. This is the Baker's Fun Schooling Journal, Homeschooling Curriculum Handbook for Students Majoring in Baking. We have lots of different options. And that
Excellent.
is a great way to get started. And all our books that we create to help kids launch careers actually cover all the required subjects from the perspective of that career.
Awesome. Awesome. I love it. And I love the journals. We have a few of those already on our shelves and have used a few. And so I'm so excited for our listeners to learn more about this style of homeschooling and about the fun schooling journals. And I just really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to be here. And so thank you again for sharing this with us. And is there anything else you want to say as we close out?
Oh, it's just been so much fun talking with you, and encourage your child to keep going with the dinosaurs. Don't
All
worry that
right.
he just loves dinosaurs. Because a lot of times we can worry when our kid is obsessed with something and we can't
Mhm.
understand how they're going to build a life on that. Just trust. And then I have a podcast called The Fun School Show. It's on
Mhm.
Apple, it's on Spotify, YouTube. So if you want to hear more about how all this works and actually hear some interviews with my adult kids, tune into The Fun School Show. You can find our books at funschooling.com and enjoy homeschooling and set your kids free to be who they were meant to be. And don't be afraid. I was so scared to let my kids skip all the
Yeah.
standardized stuff, but it's so worth it. And my kids are so happy.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, Sarah. I will make sure all those links are in the show notes for today so that the listeners can connect with everything that you are doing with your podcast and on your website. Thanks again, and I appreciate your time.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks, Jenny.